All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Oh, wow. I'm overwhelmed by this wave of recorded adulation. Thank you very much, everyone. We've got a really terrific show for you. Yes, I am repping the merch from my own show. I mean, if I don't rep it, who's gonna, So those just listening and not seeing, you're missing this beautiful maroon Mark Thompson Show t-shirt. And I'm encouraging all to pick up some merch at getmarkmerch.com. I welcome Kim to the show today.
Kim, how are you?
She's been hard at work, working all night and into the early morning hours. She's just broken the story that the Fed has dropped the interest rates by 0.25%. Isn't that right, Kim? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Didn't seem too familiar with the story, but anyway, that is our, she's on top of the bigger stories. Tony is here, and
Thanks, Tony.
is on top of everything. John Rothmann joins us today. He's back from wherever he was. He was, I think, vacationing, some kind of hiatus. And we have a true champion of legislation that fought up against big money, and you will meet someone who comes out of the world of the veterinary medicine. Veterinary medicine is, and we can even chat with her about this, very expensive, but it's also got big money around it, and it has lobbying power. And she fought that lobbying power to stop a surgical procedure on cats that was maiming them. And it was done just for money. And that is the deknuckling, the amputation of the ends of their paws, their hands. It's called declawing, but it's not actually. It actually would be like the taking of your knuckles, like from your knuckles down. Maybe it's even from here down, I don't know. But anyway, it's a full amputation. And the veterinary lobby is so strong, it has such big money associated with it, that it fought her. This veterinarian who was trying to, and she is a veterinary medicine expert, worker, physician for all sorts of animals, and she handles big cats too, in addition to like kind of residential cats. So like, for example, the wasn't it the tiger in The Hangover? Doesn't Mike Tyson have a tiger, Tony? Isn't that right? Is it a tiger or a lion? Yeah, is that right, Kim?
So, yeah.
She does veterinary medicine to the she calls them the real stars, the animals in
the
movies.
animals,
yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but just to give you a little taste, and just to mention what we'll be talking about, she fought, I'm talking about single-handedly fought to get legislation on the books banning this maiming of felines, of cats, this making declawing, as they call it, illegal in California. And it didn't just happen overnight. It was rebuffed and turned down, and she was up against big money, and she started in a little community, and you'll hear. And the reason I wanted to have her join today is not just because I care about cats or it's an interesting story. It's those things, of course, but because it's the power of one person to fight up against big money and big politics and win. And for that reason, I think it's instructive for all of us now. How did she do it? She put together this coalition slowly. And as I say, they suffered defeats along the way. They had to get legislators on board for this thing that just, again, seemed like it's of no interest to them. But in the end, they got it passed. And in California, it is now illegal to declaw, deknuckle, maim those creatures, those cats. And so that puts us, by the way, in step with most of the world. and most of the world already had that legislation on the books. Anyway, she'll be here in hour 2. And I just love, as we talk about change in America, and as you see things happen and you feel overwhelmed, I think it's increasingly important to focus on some of these stories that involve people who really were able to swim upstream against that current. A couple of weeks ago, we had the lawyer, Kim, I forget the organization, maybe you recall, but they've got 100 lawsuits against the Trump administration right now.
Oh, right. Oh, I forget. She joined us from Texas. I remember.
Yeah, she's from Texas, and she was terrific, and we'll get her back because, again, that was two things. That was all the stuff that's going on in terms of a legal remedy sought for a lot of the legislation and a lot of the moves that aren't even legislated. They are just moves on the part of the Trump administration. But it's also the power of using the courts and finding creative ways to push back against this authoritarian power. So that's another reason we had her on, and we'll have her on again. So, you know, these are things that sort of fit into that world. And Belinda Waymouth, she joins us again with It's the Planet Stupid in hour 2. And what is she focusing on today, Kim? I saw
the world missed a key climate goal.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was if you don't hit this goal by such and such a date, the world is screwed. Well, we missed it.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Best, and that's from the UN basically saying that. All right, so that's kind of an overview of what's happening. We've got some big stuff to get to, some cracks in the coalition involving the president and the shutdown. And this from Murphy Rowan. Wow, a $50 super chat.
Big shout out.
Big shout out, and thank you. Good morning, Mark, Kim, Tony, the commish, and all the remarkables. Wow.
Nice.
That is a complete greeting. And Murphy writes this: it is my birthday, 56.
Woo! Happy
Thanks
birthday,
for
Murphy.
this beautiful community trying to preserve human rights and the planet. Going to treat myself to a peacefully resist shirt. I love that, Murphy Rowan. Jump on getmarkmerch.com and get yourself a peacefully resist shirt. I love the simplicity of the peacefully resist shirt. You know, there it is. Yeah. It just has those words on the front. Nothing else, no logo, nothing. There is a logo of, I think our show logo is on the very back, on the upper, sort of near the neck. For those just listening, I always am thinking about the people like just listening on Spotify or something. Anyway, the shirt's a good one, and happy birthday. Very, very cool that you get birthday greetings from everybody in the chat right now, too, which is, you know.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Sal the Shoemaker, wishing you
Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker, Joe Box, and Little Anthony.
Sal the Shoemaker's the only one who is still out. All those other guys, Little Anthony and Joe Box, they are actually incarcerated. Anyway, Murphy Rowan, thank you. And you have our best wishes. Richard Delamater, remember to ask Belinda about her Telecaster. Yeah, the guitar. Well, that's a Kim thing. Please remind me, Kim. You have to remind me that, and that's something we want to talk about. And,
she has Telly, so do I.
Oh, that's right. What's the story behind your Telecaster?
I got one because I needed one because I didn't have one.
Well, that's
I have to have everything. You know, it's kind of one of those things of get electric
maybe
guitars.
You could dress up that story.
Well, it has the pickup is different. So the guitars I have, all of them are different. So I didn't have a Telly because a Telly has a very unique sound because that sharp G on it.
Tony is one of the most. I'm going to call him like the Renaissance man of the show in a way. He's a modern Renaissance man, you know, technology, music, you know, pop culture. I feel like that's I'm very impressed with you. I mean, I don't have all of that breadth. I feel,
could you imagine how much more I would have if I didn't work all the time?
Yeah. You'd be enjoying your life so much more. But we're
I
glad
don't enjoy anything now.
Yeah. Your need to work is our gain. So I appreciate you being. Anyway, the Telecaster will follow up on. So
the Mark Thompson Show.
I mentioned that the prime rate has dropped by 0.25%. We'll get to more of that and kind of factor it into the conversation with John Rothmann, bottom of the hour. There is a crack, you could say, in the coalition of Republicans who are supporting the Trumpian shutdown of government. And there are now 5 senators who are saying, I'm sorry, it's on the tariffs, isn't it? Excuse me. I'm
it's
mixing
on the
yeah.
It's okay. There's a lot happening. It was on the 50% tariff on Brazil.
Right. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah,
This is I'll tell you the reason I made that mistake also, because we did the story yesterday about how the Democrats have cracks in the coalition when it comes to the shutdown. And that's because of the union push. There's a federal workers union that's pushing on the Democrats and saying, hey, Democrats, you used to be our friends. You were the friends of workers, but now you've shut down the government and now we are hurting. You ought to reopen the government and then you can worry about this other stuff later. Worry about, anyway, so sorry, that was the story we did yesterday. Today, it's the crack in the coalition around the tariffs. Essentially, the president's been allowed to ride roughshod over the general restrictions on tariffs. And typically tariffs, because it is a tax, it's an import tax, that would be imposed by some kind of congressional mandate. And that is not the case. You have the president, out of fiat and having cooked up this urgency associated with a concocted emergency, able to invoke emergency powers and impose these tariffs. So now with Brazil, there is a U.S. Senate bill to block Trump's tariffs on Brazil. And again, this vote passes the Senate 52-48. It is a bipartisan rebuking of Trump, and it would terminate the sweeping tariffs on Brazilian imports, coffee, beef, other products. So you had Rand Paul, Tillis, North Carolina, and McConnell all joining the Democrats in favor of
you're going a little. Your audio sounds a little wonky to me for a second. You say it again.
You had 5 senators mentioning who they were: Paul, Collins, Thom Tillis, Mitch McConnell, and Murkowski, all voting against the legislation. The president for this legislation to roll back these tariffs. You losing me completely.
No.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go and come back. Unfortunately, you're just kind of freezing up a little bit, but I'll take the lead on that one. And let me just say, while Mark reconnects, that it was a 52-48 vote, 5 Republicans on the side of Democrats on this one. It was Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Susan Collins of Maine, Rand Paul of Kentucky, Thom Tillis of North Carolina, and of course, former Republican leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky that joined the Democrats to vote on this tariffs on Brazil, to not put 50% tariffs on Brazil. What's interesting, though, I think, is that the House is going to take this up next, but the House has already voted not to consider any tariff measures until after the first of the year. So the Senate votes for this. We're on hold because the House is, and will the House pass it anyway? We don't know. But what's interesting is the Senate managed to get something done together. I'm sorry. Hello.
Well, the House won't pass it, and that's the sad part, and that's why it doesn't matter on some level. But I do think it's notable that the coalition that's typically there and solid for Trump is beginning to melt away, maybe. But from a standpoint that is associated with just the bottom line, which is tariffs, I just think that there is, sadly, no way you'll get House participation. So it doesn't really matter what's going to happen in the Senate and what did happen in the Senate. Here is the latest on the tragedy in Jamaica and the latest on this hurricane. Tony, if you'll roll a little bit, we can see, this is a brutal, devastating hurricane that's taken many lives. And now I think is affecting Cuba. So go for it, Tony. or don't.
He will.
I thought
Sorry,
we had a
the whole
wrap package.
page just refreshed and ads playing. Give me 30 seconds for an
I'm going to put on my
Credibility jacket.
Yeah, this is my. I need. Maybe it's the pro. I haven't. Let me get my credibility glasses on. I'm sorry. I don't. I was wearing. These are credibility glasses. Don't get me wrong, but these are the newest credibility glasses, and they're really filled with a kind of incredible credibility. Yeah, there you go.
That's the coffee noise.
So yeah, that's the. So.
I'll take a
Tony,
drink
have
of
we
my...
stalled long enough for you? Do you have it for me? Okay. All right, go for it, please.
Hurricane Melissa making another landfall, slamming into Cuba with driving rain and wind. The island evacuating more than 730,000 people, while U.S. personnel at Guantanamo Bay told to take shelter ahead of the storm. It comes just hours after Melissa's historic landfall in Jamaica as a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane with destructive 185-mile-an-hour winds.
Our infrastructure has been severely compromised.
Melissa unleashing raging floodwaters and a life-threatening storm surge, leaving neighborhoods like St. Elizabeth Parish completely underwater. This was the terrifying scene outside a local hospital. Melissa first roared ashore midday on Jamaica's southwestern coast before tearing across the island. This was the reaction from the meteorologist at NBC6 in Miami as he received a live update on the deadly storm's unbelievable power.
Oh, my Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, I'm going to hold it together here.
Visitors at this hotel forced to evacuate to the ballroom, where they rode out the storm, huddled together on the floor. Christina and Tony Malscioti of Iowa are in Jamaica celebrating their anniversary. How scary has this ordeal been?
Oh, for me, it was horrific. It was absolutely terrifying.
Officials warning the damage assessment could take weeks and that the recovery could be hampered by airports that remain closed.
Yeah. I can imagine that the cleanup effort is going to be very, very difficult with all of that. So that's the latest on the deadly hurricane. It hit with these insanely powerful winds, supercharged by, of course, a warming ocean. What's that, Kim?
I was watching some video last night. I think I sent it to you about the damage at the airport. Is it the Montego Airport?
Yeah.
Something like that. If I got the name of this.
Yeah.
And then the airport, part of the roof ripped off and the airport's flooding inside and there's like wires hanging down. It looks bad.
Yeah,
really
no, it was
bad.
completely trashed. The airport full of water, and as Kim says, just everything strewn everywhere. Yeah, really, really rough. So that's the latest on the hurricane, the destruction, and sad loss of life associated with it. I also wanted to mention that
The Mark Thompson Show.
The shakeup at the Department of Homeland Security is one that's beginning to sort of come into clearer view, and this is the ramping up of an accelerated, aggressive program to deport many more people than are now being deported. So the plan is through Kristi Noem, who likes to, as you know, dress up in camo, carry around various assault-type weapons. She is shaking up the world of ICE, and she's doing it under the edict of President Trump and his right-hand man, Stephen Miller. And I'd suggest that Stephen Miller's the real both architect of this and the muscle behind it, because Trump is busy dancing in Japan on his Asia trip, and I think he's slowly kind of losing it even more than he'd lost it before. In any case, the plan is to install Border Patrol officials for a more aggressive migrant crackdown. They approved a list of ICE leaders to be replaced by Border Patrol officials in coming days. And they are saying they want the arrest numbers to be much, much higher than they are. They've welcomed the aggressive tactics to get arrests, and they've also, it seems, welcomed the high-profile, I would suggest, performative nature of some of this, like the Black Hawk helicopters and the rappelling down. But this is stuff that they like. The Trump administration likes the Black Hawk helicopters. They like the fact that the ICE agents are rappelling down from the helicopters and jumping into Home Depot parking lots and car washes, and they like this. No corner safe, no apartment building will be secure. The ICE world is our world now. The world of ICE is going to change. The mentality is that they're doing what they're told, and the administration thinks ICE isn't getting the job done aggressively enough. So it'll be Border Patrol that will do it. The White House has signed off on a list of at least a dozen directors of ICE field officers who are set to be reassigned in coming days. They said that at least half of them would be replaced by Border Patrol agents and officials. Who
will be more aggressive.
Yeah,
As
that's
if,
the thing.
and
Right.
it's crazy because you see what's happening already and how aggressive it already is with the tackling of people on the street and just the way people are being taken into custody, the way they're waiting outside the courtrooms and slamming people to the ground. How could it be more aggressive? I'm wondering. This is not good.
They want bigger numbers, and then there's this guy. There's one particular guy, and Greg Bovino is his name. And this guy, Greg Bovino, in fact, I was just reading a piece about him this morning because he's someone who worked out of the El Centro division, and he is now being ordered to make daily court appearances in Chicago because he's been so much, in the court's opinion, in violation of protocol. He's a shoot first and ask questions later kind of guy. He moved, I want to say 300 immigrants, at least 300, that he took from the Imperial Valley, I believe it was, in California. And he, again, this is not his jurisdiction. He personally administered their arrest. They're agricultural workers, okay? Just to be clear who they are. They're not what is it? Trend Agua or MS-13 or whatever, whatever their new, this is all bullshit anyway. But he's the Border Patrol chief, Greg Bovino, and he was at the federal building in Chicago. They've had 1,800 arrests, and there are many complaints, as Kim has noted, of excessive force.
Yeah, the judge. There's a judge that says you guys got to stop pepper spraying people. You have to do it, and they wouldn't, and they didn't comply. And now she's got the head of the CBP or ICE that has to meet with her every single day to go over. Okay, what happened? What's the use of force today?
What is happening right now with ICE is completely outside of the law, said, I believe that was the judge's quote. It's brutal, it's unjust, and it's unconstitutional. And I think we all need to stand up and be heard. That was, I believe, a protester who may have said that. I mean, no, it was the judge, indeed. Here's a continuation of the quote from the judge in Chicago. Kids dressed in Halloween costumes walking to a parade do not pose an immediate threat to law enforcement officers, and you can't use riot control weapons against them. The judge also said agents must wear badges, and they are banned from certain riot control techniques against peaceful protesters and journalists. And as Kim has noted, she was concerned that they weren't following that order. She'd seen footage of them using tear gas and also these other aggressive tactics. They must tell people what they are going to do before they do it so people have the opportunity to comply, she said. That's what I meant, and that's not what I've seen in any of these videos. So, yeah. So she'll be requiring them. Go ahead. Yeah.
So now Judge Sarah Ellis says Bovino, the man which you have detailed, has to appear before her. He's got to come on in and give her the rundown of who they're using force against on a daily basis, because they can't seem to listen to her ruling and implement it.
There is a true sense in this administration, and it comes from the top down, of don't pay any attention to what the judge says.
Yeah.
Don't pay any attention to protocol. Don't pay any attention to the law. We are the law. This is the new way. And so this guy Bovino, keep an eye on him, because he is sort of the profile and model of what Trump and Miller want, which is ignoring the law. Just bring me these people. Just extend the dragnet as much as you have to. These aren't criminal enterprises of any kind being broken up, as we've talked about before. So again, and they note here in this piece, what I was telling you before, Bovino is that guy who has created such havoc in Los Angeles.
Violating a restraining order that limits the use of tax.
Yeah. He also led the immigration operation in L.A. in recent months, leading to thousands of arrests. Agents smashed car windows, blew open a door to a house, patrolled MacArthur Park on horseback. And in Chicago, similar Border Patrol operations have led to viral footage of tense confrontations with protesters. So that's the situation with him. He'll be in court in Chicago, and they will keep an eye on that. But the bottom line is both he's being held accountable in Chicago, and ICE at the federal level is being rotated now, and a bunch of the top people are being replaced by much more aggressive managing styles and administrative styles when it comes to arrests. Look for those numbers to go up of arrests, and also look for the brutality, I suspect, to be amplified, because that seems to be the calling card of this crew. So that's the latest. That's the latest on that. I also wanted to
The Mark Thompson Show.
I wanted to give you something that's a little not Trump and not ICE, and it involves your favorite, and then I'll get to John Rothmann, who I know is your other favorite. And when I talk about your favorite, I'm talking about Dr. Phil. You know, I know you love your Dr. Phil.
I thought you said you weren't talking about ICE. Isn't Dr. Phil like on the ICE ride-along
He's
patrol?
ICE adjacent. You're right.
Oh,
He's very,
okay.
very ICE committed, and he's, he's part of the ICE publicity machine. That's very, very true.
This is a man with anger. This is a man that has resentment towards you.
Dr. Phil McGraw's media startup company, Merritt Street Media, has officially been shut down by a federal judge.
What?
Why?
The network must be liquidated under Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The decision comes after the judge described the failed attempt by Dr. Phil to shield close associates from financial losses while dodging debts that were owed to major investors and partners. The bankruptcy judge didn't hold back. Quote, "There is no hope for rehabilitation," he wrote, accusing McGraw of lacking transparency and deleting text messages that revealed a scheme to pay favored creditors. One of those messages, uncovered through another person's phone, showed McGraw promising to reimburse investor Jamie Ribman no matter how the court ruled.
What?
The ruling ends a bitter standoff between McGraw and Trinity Broadcasting Network and the Professional Bull Riders League, because they were suing for breach of contract. It's a whole big lawsuit. They claim they were sabotaged. I'm talking about Dr. Phil's crew suing Trinity Broadcasting Network. Trinity Broadcasting Network countersues. But Dr. Phil, it would appear, really actively and aggressively pursued a scheme. And those are the words of the court, to only pay favored creditors. And I don't know what that means, Kim. When my Dr. Phil.
And with anger, this is a man that has resentment towards you.
Exactly. Where's the other Dr. Phil?
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
No. Here's another. I thought we had another Dr. Phil. Never mind.
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
Okay. Dr. Phil, under a court order now, and his company is going away, that media company. As
Poor
Kim
Dr.
says, he's
Phil.
got his career as an ICE agent to fall
He
back
does.
on.
Well, and
Yeah.
plus, he has his career as the American emissary for religion, right? Isn't he like the holy roller in charge?
Oh, yeah, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he's like on the Christian task force. That's
the Christian task force. Oh, yeah,
or it's
right.
like the freedom of religion task force,
Sure,
but
the freedom,
it's
the freedom of one religion.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
And before I get to John Rothmann, I just want to mention, because it's a sign of the times, and you'll see a lot more of this. You can, Kim, maybe detail some of the layoffs at Amazon. I think you mentioned them yesterday. There have been some big
1,400.
layoffs across a lot of name companies, huge companies. But Paramount is one you can add to that. They lay off 1,000 workers in their latest round of cuts. They are planning on $2 billion in expense cuts across the company. That will affect these cuts CBS, CBS News, Comedy Central, and also other divisions like the film studio on Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles. Those are in LA. Maybe you're familiar with that. The cuts are real. And some of your favorite shows, maybe you watch The Daily Show, maybe you, across the Paramount Network, there are a bunch of them. They will be affected. Some of them. So, I can tell you that, South Park's not going to be affected, but, I think some of these other shows will. They have MTV,
I bet
Comedy
it will
Central.
be affected.
Yeah.
I bet all the anti-Trump shows will be affected.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. This is the new edict under the Ellison Company. Larry Ellison's son, Skydance Media, and these Redbird Capital Partners. They said that they would eliminate more than $2 billion in expenses, and now the workforce reduction, and they'll be making further cuts. So this is what they do. And I'm looking now to see what this is. A new, streaming
Paramount
rights
just
deal.
gave $1.5 billion to South Park, so
Yeah, it doesn't seem as though it would be the kind of thing that they would, that they would mess with too much. But that's the very latest layoffs across that company and across other companies as well. But there'll also be some cuts to some things that you maybe like to watch or like to take in as entertainment or information. They'll all be affected as well. So.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, that was part of that deal, that Trump approved for Larry Ellison, of course, and then Ellison will take control, Ellison and his son, of TikTok. They'll be among those who are controlling that social media platform, and as I've mentioned before, that to me is the sadness of America now, that unregulated and unabated, you just have the acquisition and merging of all these companies. And so you have ownership of media, and that means the ownership of information in so few hands that, it threatens you getting any real information, any objective information. It's as though you don't need a government news agency because these other media companies take on the cast of kind of a government news agency. All right, he's back from hiatus. He is the scholar, researcher, author, a former KGO talk show host, our colleague. He is I would say, a valued family member of this show. How about it for John Rothmann, everyone?
Thank you, Mark. I think if I'm a family member, I better refer to you as Dad, right?
What?
I thought I might refer to you as Dad, actually.
What?
Well,
I'm just
put
glad
that
to be
the side
back.
for
I
now.
want
Yes,
you to know
that's right.
I was at the Lyndon Johnson Library, the George H.W. Bush Library, the George W. Bush Library, and then we stopped at Dealey Plaza to see where Lee Harvey Oswald fired the fatal shot. And so it was a very interesting trip, and I apologize for not being with you last week, but I was in a car traversing, and it just wouldn't have worked. So I'm here.
What is your, before I get into the heavy stuff of what's going on today, you were in Dealey Plaza. You suggested Lee Harvey Oswald firing the fatal shot. You don't buy that there was any conspiracy associated with that and there might have been other people involved, John Rothmann?
You have to separate two things. First, the shot was fired from the 5th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. There's no question about it. The rifle had Lee Harvey Oswald's prints on it. No question about it. He fired a shot. Was there a conspiracy? That's a whole other issue. So, like so many things that we talk about historically, you have to separate ideas. But I will tell you, I interviewed Gerald Posner when we were on KGO, and he was the man who really believed there was a conspiracy. And when I interviewed him, he was very clear. He said, John, I've investigated everything. I've done every aspect of research, and I believe that Lee Harvey Oswald is the one who killed Kennedy. So we'll leave it there because it is an endless debate.
It's literally endless. And you can talk to many credible researchers who say, John, I've researched it and I've left no stone unturned, and there is no way that Lee Harvey Oswald was the sole perpetrator of this assassination.
Well,
so
there's your kicker.
Yeah.
You just said the word sole perpetrator.
Right.
The question is, did Oswald shoot?
But that's almost a technicality. What I'm suggesting.
Because there are people who say no, there was a shot fired from the grassy knoll.
Right. No, that's exactly. And I may be saying that. What I'm trying to say to you is that what you've done is you've separated out conspiracy, and you've separated out multiple shooters, and you've separated out did Lee Harvey Oswald fire the weapon. I see what you're doing, John. I don't want you to think that you're getting away with this without me seeing it. So you're saying Lee Harvey Oswald fired that weapon, and on that we could have, and then you get into, might there have been another shooter, and might there then be a conspiracy to cover up some aspect of what was this more than one shooter involved, and more than one involved in this assassination of JFK.
Yeah, we could debate that at some point. I personally believe it was Lee Harvey Oswald. I believe he fired from that perch in the school book depository. And whether or not there were others involved, well, none of the hearings, none of the investigations have proven anything conclusive. But I will tell you what shocked me more than anything else, and it sort of goes along with it. This is my copy of the White House Guide. Now, I'm showing this to you because I know that this is on YouTube. This copy of the White House Guide is signed by 3 presidents and 7 first ladies. And I want you to be able to get a picture of that. Anyway, what shocked me more than anything else on this trip was the decision by the president unilaterally to destroy the East Wing of the White House. And I want to point out to everybody that anybody who's ever toured the White House, that's how you enter the tour, through the East Wing. And I hope you are aware that because there is no more East Wing, there are no more tours of the White House. They have been stopped. And more shocking to me than anything, how can you say that, is that just yesterday, the President of the United States fired the 6 members of the Fine Arts Committee, which theoretically supervises all of these things. And all I can tell you is he is determined to build what he's going to build, and not to mention, which nobody really talks about, the triumphal arch that he wants built in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., I'm talking your home territory, Mark.
Yes, sir.
This, to me, is an abomination. And
first of all, I'd like to just, before you continue with this and smearing my Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, I'd like to suggest to you that you can still take a tour of the White House. You say there are no more tours. If you've got $25 million, you can go right in through another door and you can get a tour of the White House. In fact,
are you writing the check for me? I'm not
telling you
on the show, so I just want to point out, if you're willing to write the check, I'm willing to go.
Everything is for sale in this White House. And one of the things I'm concerned with, in addition to the destruction of history, as you suggested, and this was, and I think it worth spending just a beat on it, because it's not just destroying the White House. Okay, let's be clear about this. It is that. And in that act, as you said, John, he bypassed the normal ways in which even there would be tepid pushback on this plan. I mean, any sort of or pro forma approval of the plan. That is to say, just through his functionaries, the Trump appointments to whatever architectural committees and historic committees typically have to give the stamp of approval on any kind of architectural change to official buildings, et cetera. The president does have control to offer these things, but it does have to be signed off on. But even that was eliminated. He just went right for the wrecking ball and these, again, plans that apparently architecturally are flawed as well. So even from a purely architectural blueprint standpoint, there are stairways that go into the side of a building. There are windows that face each other. This is, again, another slap together job. And I would suggest, and this is my real point after that lengthy preamble, I believe that there is a kind of grift going on here. And this is an administration filled with grift. And at minimum, you have this pay to play. I mean, who is funding this ballroom? Google, Apple, Palantir. I mean, these are tech companies that have business in front of the U.S. government. This is an absolute pay-to-play situation. So in this deal, which was $200 million, then it became $250 million, then it became $300 million, then it became $325 million. I mean, what are they building? Is it a ballroom or is it just a payoff pipeline? I think it's the latter.
And let me point out to you, if you just take a look at the so-called architectural design, it is completely out of proportion. It dwarfs the People's House. And so I'm only pointing this out, and I wanted to raise it because I was away last week to tell you this is a president who is completely out of control. And the fact that he can fire at will the 6 members of the Fine Arts Committee, and the fact that there's nothing to obstruct him is, to me, an abomination. That's all I can say.
Also, this is a great point. I mean, beginning this kind of project with a Washington winter coming, I mean, it's just absurd. Why doing this demolition and now you're going to have winter in Washington? The weather is unforgiving. And
because you live there.
Yeah, it is. There's an absurdity to it. And I also think this isn't just a ballroom, as I say. I think there's grift associated with it. I also think, I don't know what else they're building or they're modifying. There's a bunker, you may know, underneath the White House. And
there is a bunker under the White House that was put there when Franklin Roosevelt was president in World War II. You may recall that at the event of 9/11, September 11th, that bunker was used. The simple reality is he is going to build an underground fortress. Anyway, let's leave this for a moment because my outrage is so.
Anyway, I'm glad you started with it because that's where I wanted to start as well, because I think there's a lot wrapped up in it, both the symbolism, the actual wrecking ball that was brought to the White House, but also, as I say, the grift and corruption that's on full display. Talk to me about the $230 million that the president is demanding for the pain and suffering that he endured as the witch hunt associated with various legal cases ground on.
I have no words. This man is the most corrupt president in American history. And you call him a grifter. He may be all of that. But I want you all to understand that the destruction of history, and I am a historian, I've written and studied and lived this, is to me so appalling. I also want to say a word. You may know that the House of Representatives has not been in session for some weeks, that Speaker Johnson has refused to call the House to order. Let me be clear about this. That doesn't stop committees of the House from continuing to attack Joe Biden. I have never seen such despicable action by irresponsible members of the House of Representatives as I have seen in these days. And you may know that President Biden gave a talk just day before yesterday, first talk since his cancer treatment. And he described it very simply. He said, these are tough times, but we're going to get through them. And I sure as hell hope so. Let me also, while I'm on a roll, let me just tell you, because I think it's important to point out that the House of Representatives is not in session. Speaker Johnson, by the way, did a good thing today. He announced he would oppose a third term for Donald Trump based on the Constitution of the United States. And with that statement, Donald Trump sort of downplayed it as well. He even said that he would not run for vice president on a ticket, as some people have suggested. And I just want you to be clear. The first person who ever suggested this method of evading the 22nd Amendment was David Broder. And David suggested that Barry Goldwater take Dwight Eisenhower as his running mate. And of course, it went nowhere, and the idea was to boost Goldwater's position. But we also had the position when Joe Biden was nominated for president. There was a talk of Obama being added to the ticket in order to strengthen it. These illusions are very clear. There is no third term available to Donald Trump constitutionally.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the way. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't even think the guy. I don't know how much. I don't know how much gas is still in the Trump tank, but
But how about a ticket? How about a ticket of Vance and his running mate, Donald Trump Jr.?
Well, I think Donald Trump Jr. is relevant politically. I mean, even as he grifts through this presidency, my God, the way in which the Trump family is grifting off of this presidency, unprecedented. Of course, billions of dollars in the crypto scheme. The crypto scheme is so simple, and they have managed to create billions of dollars, billions with a B, dollars of wealth to the Trump family personally. Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma. Was that what it was? The energy company?
Yes.
And in Ukraine. And there was this hue and cry from the GOP. And I think, again, it was legal, but it was, again, he's not exactly this guy who has who's steeped in an energy background. He got it because his last name was Biden, and he was connected to Joe Biden. That said, you never heard the end of it. I mean, they're still on a jihad about Biden and the Biden crime family.
Oh, they're going after Biden now over the whole question of auto pen signatures. Can I tell you, I have a book on John F. Kennedy's auto pen and how often the Kennedy signatures were given by auto pen. It's a fascinating compilation put together in the 1960s. And all I can tell you is for presidents to have these auto pen machines, it's absolutely there. That's why if you want to really examine a presidential autograph, you want to make sure it's flat signed. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah. So again, just to the point, the grift is on full display. And so we get back to tariffs, which I always felt, and I've made this point repeatedly, are a system of patronage. When you impose these tariffs, you've now, across the board, created a situation in which countries have to come to you and offer things to you to offset the tariffs, to give them tariff relief, to give them tax relief of one sort or another. And I'm not talking about giving America a break. I'm talking about things offered to Trump. You've seen it in the Middle East. You've seen it in Asia. I wonder if you can give me your take now on the situation with tariffs and on Trump's efforts to sort of put Humpty Dumpty back together again with both the Japanese and the Chinese.
Well, I'm going to first make the statement about missing in action. Who is missing in action on this tariffs? The Supreme Court, which has been asked to rule on the question of whether a president can impose tariffs. Let me tell you, the president doesn't have that right. That is reserved to the Congress, and the Hoot-Smalley Act of 1930 is the best example. So my answer to you is we have a dysfunctional government. Not only is the House of Representatives not in session, but the Supreme Court is missing in action. And this is one of the tremendous things. And you're right. These are apparent payoffs. These are reciprocal, if you will, in the sense of benefit. And you and I had an argument once, and I regret to say you were right. And that had to do with my belief in the balance of power based on three co-equal branches of government. I commend you to listen to Anthony Kennedy, retired Justice of the United States Supreme Court, who made the statement that our entire democracy is at stake because the balance of power, these co-equal branches of government, are being shattered. So may I tell you, the big news for me is to watch the Supreme Court and what it does on the question of presidential power, on the question of tariffs, on the question, and one other quick thing. I'm teaching a course in the spring, in January, on Edward R. Murrow. And I am very concerned about the drift, if you will, of news media. Barry Weiss has just been named the person to be in charge of CBS News. This is absolutely a disgrace. Not that Barry Weiss isn't very bright, not that she isn't someone who is a very effective writer, but can you imagine what Edward R. Murrow would be thinking? that Barry Weiss would be in charge of CBS News.
You don't have to go back to Edward R. Murrow. I mean, just a decade
Walter
ago.
Cronkite.
Yeah, any of these people who
Eric
were associated
Severide.
This is a Tiffany network, which
it's
was
disgusting.
referred to as such because of the high-end nature of everything from journalism to programming.
May I make one other comment while we're at it? I mean, I know that you like to ask me questions, and I tend to run every which way because I have so much to say in such a short time. And that is, please take a look at what's happening in the White House in terms of the press room. There is no more press corps in Washington, D.C. The White House has effectively destroyed the ability for the press to cover the White House. And I am also going to say they have now extended that to the Department of Defense. It's the Department of Defense, ladies and gentlemen, not the War Department. There is no War Department.
What John is talking about, of course, is the purging of the press from the Pentagon unless they would sign a pledge to only use information that came from the Pentagon. So you can't work any sources. You can only essentially become readers of press releases that come out of the Pentagon. So when you look at the history of the Pentagon when it comes to information, there is more disinformation out of that agency than I would suggest, at least it rivals any other institution in Washington. Look at what they did in Vietnam. Look at what they did in Afghanistan. Look at what they did in Iraq. I mean, you will never get the straight story from the Pentagon. So the idea somehow that you are going to sign a pledge to only repeat what Pete Hegseth tells you to repeat, it's absurd. And so they all pulled out. Only one American news network, that's what they're called, OANN. They continue there, and with a bunch of other people who are just excited to be at the Pentagon and get clearance. It's
right.
Again, it's again the
something.
fall of the free press in America and in government. Don't you need a free press, John, to essentially give the people a window on what's happening with their government, the government that they own?
Of course you do. Let me make one other quick. I mean, I love doing these comments, and I hate to be so brief with you. But when I was in Texas, we listened to talk radio. We drove distances in Texas. It was all right-wing radio. It was all the same nonsense. And I sat with a couple in Dealey Plaza, African-American couple. We shared a bench to have lunch. There are not a lot of benches there. There are only 2 benches. We sat together. And they were driving. And I talked to them, and I said, tell me what you think of what's happening. And his answer was, Donald Trump is my president. And I said, do you have any mixed feelings? He said, look, he's the president. We've got to support him. And I was so upset because I know that that's not what he really feels in terms of policy. And that's the thing. It is the stifling of policy, the stifling of dissent. And I learned something else, and I say this very respectfully. The destruction of KGO in San Francisco was not just a tragedy for our community. It's a tragedy for the country, because what we did together was to have diversity of opinion. And that is what we need in these days. So I'm very disturbed about everything. And if you want, I'll throw in one more thing. And that is, as I told you some weeks ago, there is no peace in the Middle East. The ceasefire is a fake and a phony. And all you have to do is understand the Israelis hit hard in Gaza yesterday. And what did Donald Trump do? He said, oh, that's okay. They can do it. And the Israeli response was, great. Now we'll go back to the ceasefire. To tell you of the absurdity of Donald Trump pretending to be someone who is bringing peace is, to me, absolutely beyond comprehension.
Well, I will then get in on this, John, because I said at the time, yet again, I'm right about yet another thing. I'm telling you, I don't mean to be peacocking, but I do mean to tell you.
I'm kind of a big deal.
I do think
you are kind of a big deal.
I apply perhaps the appropriate cynicism at the time, and now in all seriousness, I said, I'm ready to give Trump, who is the gangster, and he's I think he's like Mafia Don politician. I've told you what I think. Meeting with other Mafia Don gangsters, and those are those rulers of the Middle East, UAE, Qatar, the Saudis, the Egyptians. They are all in the same category, in my judgment. Again, there are differences. Happy to talk about them another time, but just from a bottom line standpoint, it took a gangster to meet with the other gangsters, and in a completely transactional moment, produce a ceasefire. And hostage release and prisoner exchange on both sides. Now, I felt even as he deserved credit for that, I was not ready to give him the Nobel Prize or anything. The guy's turning troops loose on American cities. He's blowing Venezuelan fishermen out of the water with these extrajudicial killings. So I was very tough on him from that standpoint, but I did feel he deserved credit for bringing that moment, stopping the bleeding in that moment in the Middle East. This is where you and I disagreed, and CC writes this.
We didn't disagree.
Please ask Rothmann if he still thinks Trump deserves the Nobel, considering the peace deal was all theater. Fighting continues in Gaza. I guess you had said, I think I wasn't here that day, that he deserves the Nobel Prize.
My comment had to do with the release of the hostages. The fact that the 20 surviving hostages held by Hamas were released and are back in Israel, he deserves recognition for that. Now, the motivations and all the rest, that's a whole other issue. But in my mind, Donald Trump is the biggest fraud to ever sit in the White House. And of course, he doesn't deserve the Nobel Peace Prize, but he does deserve recognition. And if a prize were given for hostage release, then he deserves it.
Look, the whole prize thing and Nobel thing, they gave Nobel Prize, they gave the Peace Prize to Barack Obama. He'd been in office like 45 minutes. It was crazy. I mean, even Obama was embarrassed about that. So I don't know that the Nobel Peace Prize is it's necessarily anything, but
just like Donald Trump's triumphal arch that he's going to build in your hometown.
Yeah,
it's all similar. By the way, we forgot to mention, the name of the new ballroom? It'll be the Trump Ballroom.
Yeah,
I mean, there is.
It should be called the Palantir Ballroom or the Google Ballroom. Those are, by the way, the only awards that really do still have any significance are these. Golden mics behind me. Thank you, everybody. All right.
Modesty,
John, we appreciate you. I've got to wrap up.
It should be shutting me down again.
It should be called the Epstein Memorial Ballroom, says Stella Luna. Exactly. Epstein. Everybody wants the Epstein Ballroom. Yeah, Jane O, same thing.
No. Then you got to watch something, because I'm now going to be very interested when the House reconvenes and the representative-elect from Arizona is seated, and there are 218 votes for the discharge resolution. It's going to be very interesting, because for some reason, Trump and the Republicans do not want that to happen. But I would be remiss if I didn't point out again that you must support the Mark Thompson program. Please do contribute. Please do subscribe. And may I say, it is always a high honor and great personal privilege.
We enjoy it as well. You can find John Rothmann, the voice of San Francisco. It's thevoicesf.org. His podcast is there, and also Around the Political World with John Rothmann. We'll talk to you next Wednesday. Thank you, John Rothmann.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is the Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
Right on, everyone. Right on. Thank you for all the ways that you participate. You share the show. You can disagree with anything. Not everything is something that you're going to be cool with. I get it. But we embrace the controversy, and we embrace opinions of all sorts. We have some very funny comments in the YouTube live comment stream. We are a live show 2 to 4 in the East. Shout out to the East Coast. And we are 11 to 1 on the West Coast. Shout out to the West Coast. The Dodgers are the big team on the West Coast, and they're up against the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series. That World Series is all tied up. The Romania Animal Rescue people are big supporters of this show. And I want to say thank you, and I appreciate a $20 super sticker today. Romania Animal Rescue Inc.
Big shout out.
Big shout out, and a thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I do want you to, Romania Animal Rescue people, listen to the next segment, because I have a true hero for the animal kingdom coming up. And it's not just somebody who talks the talk, but she has actually gotten legislation on the books. I mean, revolutionary legislation on the books, and fought up against strong political headwinds and financial headwinds that were fighting her on basic humanitarian legislation. To me, her struggle is the struggle of one person who builds a coalition with others who are like-minded and who actually can affect change and ultimately win with that change. I'm talking about the effort to stop the maiming of cats. The maiming of cats, and it seems like such an innocent effort, was very much a part of veterinary medicine. They call it declawing, but actually you're amputating the knuckles of the creature. And these are, we know we have cats in our home. These are sweet creatures who deserve our care and protection, right? And all of a sudden they end up in this place where they're getting their part of their hands, if you will, their paws, their feet removed just to protect living room furniture or whatever. So one person, a veterinarian, said this has to stop in America. It's outlawed in most of the world. And she is a graduate of UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine, member of the American Veterinary Medicine Association and the American Association of Zoo Veterinarians, the European Association of Zoo and Wildlife Veterinarians. She's really an extraordinary veterinarian with a track record of being an advocate for exploited creatures, and as I say, for getting this landmark legislation through the legislature in California. Please, a warm welcome for Dr. Jennifer Conrad. Yeah. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I sort of tried to describe this thing that you were so incensed about, this procedure that was going on in many veterinary offices across California, continues to go on in some veterinary offices across America, et cetera. I was trying to describe it. It's really a kind of an amputation. It's a cruel way in which people deal with, I guess, the claws of a cat. Can you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's it should be called deknuckling because it's the amputation of the last phalanx, the last bone in the cat's paws. Because our nails grow from skin, but cat claws grow from the bone. So in order to remove the claw, you actually have to amputate the bone, which is so cruel. And it's done on all their toes, and it maims them for life. It changes the way they walk. It makes them not want to use the litter box because they come home from the surgery, they dig in the sand, it hurts. They don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to use it anymore. And then also it makes them more likely to bite, because if they don't have that claws to protect themselves, they have to use their teeth.
Sure. Yeah, it clearly affects their mood and the way in which they interact with you and with the rest of the creatures around them. So I want to get into the politics a little bit of this, because we do a lot of politics and news on this show. And one of the things that really captured me in the story, it was a humanitarian effort, but a lot of humanitarian efforts, when they go up against big money and big lobbying, they just can't seem to punch through. And you started this just as a person. Now, admittedly, you're a vet, so you've seen it firsthand. I mean, this cruel procedure went on for so long, but you were outraged by it to the point that you were trying to begin to cobble together some sort of legislative push to stop this thing, right?
Yeah, it started with the fact that I was working with big cats, and there were so many of them coming in, and I had to try and revise their paws so that they could walk again. And it dawned on me that I would never, ever catch up unless we made it illegal. And that's where it all started.
The big cats you talk about, you were the vet handling in The Hangover, wasn't it? Mike Tyson had a tiger, I think, in that movie, right?
Yeah, those were my patients, but I was talking about big cats who actually lost their homes because they were crippled from declawing, and they couldn't walk, and so they couldn't be used in the movie industry. And it was those cats who inspired me to try and give them some semblance of of their lives back by decreasing the pain.
And the cats then that you see going in and out of these various veterinary institutions. I mean, it's the whole vet world. If we have a second, we'll talk about it because it's owned by, it's become corporatized now.
Yes.
This was a routine procedure. It had become so routine, and yet it is horribly destructive to the animal.
It's true. It's still done on about 25% of American cats, so 1 in 4. The statistics are between 20 and 25%, but I think those are actually low compared to what it really is, because in the Midwest, veterinarians will report that 80 or more % of their patients are declawed. And it was done because this guy invented it, and he took it with the support of the American Veterinary Medical Association. He took it on a dog and pony show and said, hey, here's a quick way to make cats not be able to scratch in their houses. And it's a big money maker. It's over $1 billion a year business. And so veterinary medical associations, which are always the opposition to any of the legislation we try, they don't want it illegal. It makes too much money, and their members make so much money doing it that the medical associations which are trade organizations. I shouldn't even give them the idea that they're actually medical associations, but they know that their members who pay dues won't support them if they support a declaw ban, so that we fight them all the time.
So this is perfect because it gets me to the fight. So they fight a declaw ban, these institutions associated, lobbying, as you say, trade organizations associated with the veterinary world. And you'd think that they are in the business of treating animals, protecting animals, but in this case, they are fighting to maintain something which is a moneymaker for veterinary practices, this declawing, this de-knuckling. So you went up against, they had a lot of money and they had a lot of lobbying power, and you went up against it. How did you do it? You've gotten this legislation was signed by the governor. It's banned in California. How did it took you 20 years or something to get this done?
It did. It took a long time. It took the fact that we've been working consistently on educating people on what this really is, that it should be called de-knuckling, not a euphemism of declawing. Yeah, it's not that. And it took the fact that we had an author this year who actually cared. And the author was named Alex Lee. He's a assembly member up in Milpitas area, which is the South Bay. And he cared. And so he did not accept the California VMA saying, oh, what about the little old lady who has the cat who, we're worried about her and that she'll have to give up her cat. Because the truth is those declaw cats bite. So you're actually jeopardizing the health of these people. You're not helping. You're not saving lives. And, declawed cats are often in the pound. They've lost their home because if someone's intolerant of a cat scratching a couch, they're really intolerant of a cat peeing on the couch or biting. So those cats lose their homes. And here's an example, since it matters to you and me. We live in Los Angeles, and in 2009, we banned declawing in Los Angeles. Well, if we look at the number of cats who lost their home before the ban, the 5 years before, and the number of cats who lost their home after the ban, it went down 43%. That's tens of thousands of cats' lives saved. And the head of LA Animal Services says it's absolutely from the ban, because we're not getting those declawed cats losing their homes, and we're not having to kill those cats because they're unadoptable, because they don't use the box and they bite.
So it made practical sense, but you're saying you needed one legislator who you could connect with, who would push the legislation for you. Prior to that, you're saying you couldn't get any legislative buy-in?
No, it got legislative buy-in, but what was unique about Alex Lee was he is so committed to this. He was so committed to it that he didn't let the other members of the legislature fall for the California VMA's stupid excuses. He didn't let them. He kept saying, no, here's the facts. Other legislators care, but he went up against them. And also because I think we've done enough, we've run this bill enough times, legislators know what it is, and they know that the only reason the California VMA wants to keep declawing legal is for money. They know it. And in fact, there's a new documentary, I think we've talked about it, American Cats, the Good, the Bad, and the Cuddly. And one of the representatives of the VMA says it's an upsell. It's for money.
I mean, it seems so clearly for money. There's no rational explanation for it. There are two movies that I liked on this. I love the Paw Project movie for the focus. First of all, it really gives you a sense of it straight up, like just the facts, ma'am, in a way. And also, it is a bit of what we're talking about, which is the legislative lift that you had to have. You see how you get a lawyer who, is like-minded. You get someone who knows politics and can help squire this into a legislative form. You get to see how you build the coalition. I really like that movie for that because, as I say, it's the power of one person, you, but you needed these other people and this coalition, and you got them because it's a righteous cause. People could see the cruelty associated with it, and you actually got this legislation across the finish line. So that's called the Paw Project. And again, pawproject.org is still there. It's a great resource to find out about this. And then the Good, the Bad, and the Cuddly is the second. I just love the title. Is the second. There's Tony's got it up now. Pawproject.org. is the second movie. And so there you are with so many of the key players in getting this across the finish line. But I'm so excited for two things: the elimination of this cruel procedure and also the triumph of a righteous cause. I think these days we're seeing so many righteous causes just die on the vine or get bullied out of the way by big money, and you took on big money and won, and I congratulate you.
Well, thanks, Mark. We have passed the legislation now. California is the fifth state, so we have been working at it, but fifth state means only 10% of the United States, whereas in Canada, when we started in 2015, the Canadians said, oh no, we do something wrong, we better stop it. And so we've been able to pass legislation in all 9 provinces to ban declawing. But I mean, in 9 of the 10, sorry, Ontario has not yet passed it. But in United States, it's so much harder, so much more money involved.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that you remind us that, like, this wasn't just a California project. You took this to the various places you needed to try to make it happen, and you did make it happen. Again, pawproject.org. Dr. Jennifer Conrad, I'm so excited for your victories. Keep it going, and I encourage people to check out the movies. Go to pawproject.org, and there are, you can find the avenues to these films and just great documentaries that kind of, again, document the effort. But congrats again, and thanks for spending a couple of minutes with us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, talk soon. Really great stuff. I love that effort. And congratulations. Yes.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Sorry, Tony, I didn't hit my. I got out of my rhythm there, and at the end. We'll have a link to Paw Project. Excuse me for a second.
We'll have a link to pawproject.org underneath that video. Mm-hmm.
That is exactly what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Yes. Kim, what else do I want to say?
You would like to say that coming up, it's the Planet Stupid.
Yes.
Will help us save this wonderful Earth. But before that, we have a little bit of news.
I very much wanted to make the point that my distinguished colleague has made. So as you are somewhere at a U.S. airport waiting for your flight that may not be taking off for a couple of days because of the government shutdown, as the air traffic controllers are not being paid, as you wait for some government service and you wait on hold for hours and hours and hours, please enjoy, instead of just the hold music, our wonderful Kim. News and commentary awaits you. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report is sponsored by the amazing CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. The Federal Reserve is lowering interest rates by 1/4 percentage point, marking the second straight interest rate cut. The benchmark rate is now in range of 3.75% to 4%. Hurricane Melissa is making its way toward the Bahamas now. The storm will move across the southeastern or central Bahamas today. Melissa brought devastating flooding to Cuba after slamming Jamaica on Tuesday. Hurricane experts say Melissa is the second strongest Atlantic hurricane in recorded history. She's a big one. President Trump taking a victory lap after reaching a trade deal with South Korea. It happened during a meeting today between Trump and the South Korean president, when afterwards Trump told reporters, "We did reach a deal." South Korea reportedly agreeing to purchase American-made planes and natural gas in return for lower tariffs. Trump set to meet next with China's president, part of his multi-day Asia trip.
Is that gold crown that we're showing there on screen going to be one of the things he's taking as a gift from...
The next stop for
I
the crown.
didn't ask him for it. He gave it to me. They gave it to me. I'm not going to say no. They put it in a big, beautiful plane. I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to donate it.
You may see that appearing in the ballroom, coming up.
Yeah, that's right. It'll fit right in. Yeah,
well, the gold. Yeah. The Senate approving a resolution aimed at blocking President Trump's tariffs on Brazil. As Mark mentioned earlier, yesterday, lawmakers advancing this resolution that would end Trump's use of his emergency powers to implement this 50% tariff on Brazil. 5 GOP senators joined Democrats to pass that measure. Despite this, the resolution can't be taken up in the House until next year. Even if it's passed, which is unlikely, it would be not be signed into law by President Trump. So spinning our wheels on that one, but at least someone's doing something, right?
It's a sign of maybe some pushback, but yeah, it doesn't, from a bottom line standpoint, change anything.
No end in sight for the government shutdown as it rolls into the 29th day. A 13th effort to end the impasse failing yesterday in the Senate. There's no plan to vote on the measure today. The Trump administration says the military will be paid, but thousands of air traffic controllers missed their first full paycheck now. Food assistance
This is, by the way, the myopic way in which this administration handles things. They are... I mean, it's ridiculous we did the whole thing on the right-wing billionaire who supposedly is paying the military during this shutdown. And it was $150 million, I think it was, or maybe it's $170 million, but it doesn't...
30, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't actually pay the military any more than $90 a person. I mean, it's not, the military is an immense machine, of course, probably too immense, and I should not even say probably, it is too immense, but the reality is that you've got such immensity there that you can't possibly pay everybody with $130 million. So, and here's the myopic part. The thing that is going to most affect people, where they're going to notice the shutdown, apart from SNAP and apart from, all this food assistance. I mean, if you need government assistance, you are really getting screwed. But apart from that, in the day-to-day workings and travel of Americans, the air traffic controllers are going to make you feel this pinch. And so all travel, which is already being dramatically affected by this, I saw 7,000 to 10,000 major flight delays as a result of ATC not showing up or there being slowdown in workforce. So you end up with the transportation hubs in America that are related to aviation being turned on their side during this government shutdown. And it's going to get worse. So my point is, if you really were smart, I mean, fiendishly smart, which is typically what they are, they're both ruthless and they're fiendish, but they are not smart. The smart thing to do would be to pay the air traffic controllers. I mean, if you're looking to just pay someone. Now, the whole thing is illegal. I mean, these are government employees and they're supposed to be mandated to be paid by the government. This isn't a private enterprise. The payment of the military by some rich guy is not something that is even allowable, as I understand it. But everything is getting done now in a way that is, what should we say, off the record or, against type. The old type was everything had to be done within some sort of regulatory structure. The new type is we just do it. And if we get sued, we'll see you in court. But in any case, it seems like a righteous effort to try to in some way offset these government cutbacks. Now, I'd like to see some of these rich people step up and offset the cuts in government programs like SNAP. Why don't we see some private, and by the way, to be fair, there are private philanthropic organizations that are trying to step up and help some of these people who require government assistance. I mean, talking about essentially food kitchens times 100, okay? So there is that effort in the private sector, but the idea somehow that you're going to let the air traffic controllers be orphaned during all of this, but you're going to talk about the military? Why? Because that's the big flex and everybody's wearing camo and you're all there with the fetishized world of the military. Hey, I love the military and the veterans who are getting screwed by this administration. Love them all. But what I'm saying is the air traffic controllers and the fact that there are going to be more and more of them not showing up to work, slowing down, and there'll be work stoppages of one sort or another, that is going to ripple across the transportation industry in America, and that is where you're really going to feel it. So, again, this administration, myopic, all about the military, trying to get them money. Meanwhile, those guys in the control tower, the men and women who fly and approve the flight paths for these various planes, those are the ones you should be taking care of, because that is going to be where you're going to see huge pushback. I know you don't care about the poor people. I know you don't care about the people who need assistance. I know you don't care about the people who are going to fall off from medical insurance rolls. I know you don't care about those who are going to be withering under the costs associated with health care. I know you and the Trump administration don't care about them. But the air traffic controller people, you will care about them, because they are going to affect a lot of people, and you're going to hear the pushback from constituencies that you do care about.
A hearing starts today in a Portland federal court over whether troops can be deployed to protect federal buildings. The Trump administration arguing they don't have enough federal officers to do the job, and they need the support in Portland of the National Guard. Oregon has argued there is no rebellion and police are able to manage the demonstrations just fine. Judge Karen Immergut previously issued temporary restraining orders that have stopped the troops from being deployed. This hearing and the court movement could last about 3 days before any decision comes out. The Trump administration is removing ICE leadership in several major cities, as Mark mentioned, including Los Angeles, and San Diego as well. Some of the leaders will reportedly be replaced with Customs and Border Protection officials, the shakeup happening at about a dozen ICE offices across the nation. The LA Times reports the Border Patrol's aggressive tactics will be used in more interior cities to achieve higher deportation numbers. White House has fired the federal arts commissioners expected to advise on President Trump's new fancy ballroom. A White House official said yesterday, that it had fired all 6 members of the Commission of Fine Arts and is preparing to appoint a whole new slate of members who are more aligned with Trump's America First policies. A group of Senate Democrats are calling for a complete accounting, meanwhile, of all donations to the White House ballroom construction project. The group is being led by Senator Adam Schiff, who wrote a letter to the White House Chief of Staff demanding the details as well as information about any conditions underlying those contributions. While the president has defended the project, citing that it's being privately funded, the Democratic lawmakers warned the identities of the individual and corporate donors is raising troubling questions about the potential for influence peddling and other forms of
Saudi
corruption.
Arabia pays cash.
Yeah, it's absolute influence peddling. Schiff is 100% right. I've talked about this and will continue to. I mean, you have a ballroom built by Palantir, Google, Apple. I mean, it's absurd. This is an absolute pay-to-play grift. There is, of course, no record that will be shared. I mean, maybe you'll get some kind of congressional compelling of the White House to share some of the information, but I promise you, in this full transparency. This is the Orwellian part. They use the words like full transparency, and it's just the opposite, right? The big, beautiful bill is this ugly piece of legislation that actually robs you of many of the freedoms that you have, the associated problems, getting insurance support, health insurance. The idea somehow that he's going to, and the Trump administration is going to share with you the actual list of donors. I mean, it seems as though it should be a chip shot. I mean, isn't that the way things are done? There should be transparency. By the way, this shouldn't be privately funded. You should go to Congress if you feel the White House needs to be modified in some way, like you should any government building, and you should get congressional approval. And in that way, there will be a transparency. The idea is, don't worry about it. I'm going to fund it with all this money that's being donated by these various people and various entities. And so you have these high-tech barons moving in who have business before the government, and they're going to pay for this. Well, this is an outrage. That's not the way things are done. It's an outrage that he would take a wrecking ball to the White House without any kind of official approval. It's another outrage that you're going to build some arch in Washington, D.C. Are you kidding me? Who approved that? I mean,
he doesn't need approval, because now apparently everybody that is seated on this committee is going to be appointed by him. And do you think they're going to say no? No. So he just moves forward.
Sadly, that's exactly right.
He doesn't even want the criticism. He didn't even go through the process of saying, hey, can I tear down the East Wing? He just did it. He operates by the, act first, ask for apologies later, but there's no apology ever coming.
Well, the other thing I would just say is that he promised that there would be no effect on the existing structure. I'm not going to touch the existing structure, is what he said. And he didn't touch it. He wrecked it. Just got rid of it.
The lawmakers, by the way, are asking the White House to respond by November 5th. Don't hold your breath on that happening. Acting U.S. Attorney for Central California, Bill Asaley, is commenting on a judge's ruling that he is unlawfully serving in his role. Asaley says he is not planning on going anywhere. The federal public defender's office challenging his legitimacy in 3 pending criminal cases now. They argue Asaley improperly overstayed his interim appointment, warranting his removal. The ruling now means Asaley is disqualified from participating in defendants' prosecutions as acting U.S. attorney. We'll ask David Katz more about that tomorrow. Republican members of the House Judiciary Committee are convinced former President Biden's FBI may have investigated more than 160 Republican lawmakers. The so-called Arctic Frost probe looked into the 2020 presidential election interference allegations. And lastly, a TV cameraman caught the Dodgers' winning home run ball that ended Monday night's 18-inning World Series game.
Wow,
I
didn't know this story. Yay. That's wild.
Freelance cameraman Zeke Hernandez was sitting on a golf cart when Freddie Freeman's homer made it over the center field wall, and he managed to snag it. The cell phone video captured the moment at the end of Game 3. Right after that, Hernandez and the rest of his crew were on the field setting up for post-game interviews. He says he's planning to get the ball authenticated because that home run ended an historic 18th inning game. The ball will likely be worth quite a bit of money. So,
wow, yeah. That is just a great story. Really a great story.
Here's the question. If you were at work at the time, does the ball belong to you or does it belong to your employer?
Oh, that's a great...
Because you caught it.
I'll bet it'll be litigated. I'll bet it'll be litigated. In the service of
work, right? I don't know. I mean, I'm just, wondering.
No, I bet that'll be litigated. Wow.
I mean, it's how he was in that section to even get the ball, right?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's a question. Would you put that a question for David Katz? Put it aside, and it's a question for David Katz.
I'm sure that if I was there on behalf of the Mark Thompson Show, the Mark Thompson Show would be claiming any properties that I acquired on my trip.
I'm sure that would be a fun fight with Kim. She wouldn't give it up. Are you kidding me? Jesus.
This report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
I can't.
It is one.
You had to put it in terms that I could understand.
Thompson Show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already disappointed in Kim, and she hasn't even caught a ball. She hasn't even gone to the stadium. I'm already disappointed. She's already keeping a ball that she didn't even catch.
Pretty much haven't done much of anything except take a sip of my Coachella Valley tea. Oh, it's good. It's so good. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. The best coffee, the best tea, the best of everything. Please take a look at the website. They've got great tasting notes there. So you can get the coffee or the tea that's aligned with your personal taste. And we've got a super secret code that gets you 10% off. Mark T, no spaces, Mark T at checkout. Please use it. Pass it around to your friends. I'm telling you, once you serve CoachellaValleyCoffee.com or tea to anyone, they're like, oh, now I get it. Yes, must have that. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
CoachellaValleyCoffee.com to these people who typically drink Folgers coffee. Remember those spots?
I do remember
we
that.
Gave Folgers coffee to these people at the Russian tea room.
They were trying to discern whether people could tell the difference between caffeinated and decaf.
Oh, was that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Was that what I thought it was? Just
we gave decaf
how they reacted to Folgers,
and they couldn't tell the difference. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
I think that was it. Yeah, I don't know.
Tony can find the original spots. You'll have a minute here to look if you want. Anyway,
there
all right.
It is.
But Coachella Valley coffee, honestly, best coffee I've ever tasted, and I've been drinking. I've got 3 Burr grinders. I have coffee imported from all over the country, not only the country, I should say the world. I'm really a coffee hound. I've like the Ferrari of coffee machines. The espresso machine I have is this. It's super expensive. I've been really into it. I mean, I've had it for 20 years. I mean, but I'm. All I can say is I'm a believer. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. When you try it, you'll agree. And as Kim says, there are all these tasting profiles underneath, all the beans and teas and spices, and you get 10% off with Mark T at checkout. So please use our discount code.
I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Smash it with your iron rod. Use Mark Thompson.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
What he's got going here is a situation.
It's unbelievably offensive.
Put up your pants, my man. Pull up those pants.
Ralph Nader just sent me a book. Did he send you one too?
I offer this sincere apology to you today. Everything is going extremely well.
Call me a liar. Know what you call him? You, sir, are a liar.
You are a cover-up artist and you are a liar.
Why a liar? Your pants are on fire!
Google told me.
Can you let him finish, sir? It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
No.
I'm going to tell you what I think.
What are the porn stars doing?
Do you have a secret now?
Doesn't anybody better weed?
100% effective, how about that?
Say what?
There is no defense for my conduct. I misspoke. I stand corrected.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Time's up, mother effers.
Right. Right on. Thank you for being here. This is a home stretch. 30 minutes more of some of the best programming you are going to find anywhere in audio or video. We're on Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio. We're also in the world of Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You can take us in as an audio offering, and of course, live on YouTube for 2 hours. And then you can check that out anytime you want as well, because we're here for you whenever you want to take us in. Most people actually watch the show in delay. Yeah. I wish I could do the show in delay. It would be so much easier. Sadly, I go live and then I think, why couldn't I quite express myself during that one part? Yeah. Tony, what is our situation? We have
Belinda's
Belinda waiting?
Yeah, Belinda's in the back and lobby.
Okay. Kim, are you in your position? Are you ready?
I also found the Folgers commercial.
Oh, you did. Let's see the Folgers. That's kind of what I was getting at, to see if you had that. So let's see the Folgers commercial quickly.
When it's morning in New Orleans, coffee lovers head for Brennan's Restaurant for that all-important first cup of the day. This morning, we're secretly switching their fresh brewed coffee with dark, sparkling Folgers crystals. Can these people tell the difference?
He's a monster before he has coffee in the morning.
I'd like to be around while this was being brewed.
The smell would wake me up in the morning. Just
Yeah.
because.
It's Folgers crystals.
Oh, really?
Instant. Makes me feel like I find my keys in the morning if I'd have a cup of this.
Folgers crystals. Start your day with a coffee rich enough to be served in America's finest restaurants.
Yeah, that's what they
Oh,
did.
that's funny.
They substituted Folgers crystals for all of these coffees in high-end places. That was the old thing.
Which
So-
now, I mean, now that we have Coachella Valley coffee, Folgers Crystal seems laughable, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, also instant coffee kind of went out. But I mean, there was a time when they were really pushing it, Sanka and Folgers. But yeah, Coachella Valley coffee. This is a boutique roastery that we turned you on to. So everything's hand roasted, and it's much different. But I love those old commercials, and I love the fact that instant coffee was the thing. I think I was raised on instant coffee. My mom used to make Sanka, which is so funny because as she got older, and we all got older, she would have a pot of coffee always ready to go, and it was in these thermoses that stayed hot all day and all night. We were always drinking coffee. Anyway, so that's the coffee deal, and thank you, Tony, for finding that. So good stuff. Now,
The Mark Thompson Show.
on Wednesdays, we like to talk about stuff that's related to the environment and this planet, our imperiled planet. There was something I wanted to mention. I can mention it even. I'll mention it as Belinda comes on, because the news out of the world of the environment is somewhat concerning. The U.S. liquefied natural gas terminals apparently have violated pollution limits, according to a new report. Their public records coming as the Trump administration aims to fast-track approval of the new liquid natural gas export terminals. So they did an analysis of these public records, and they find that, LNG and the whole industry, and we've talked about this, portrays itself as environmentally friendly, but companies do not consistently comply with air and water pollution control standards and laws that they have to follow. This is a new report from the Environmental Integrity Project. It's a non-profit. And I think it's worth noting, because you're seeing more and more that the basic regulations about pollutants in the air, water, and soil, they're just being ignored. And this shows that even prior to Trump coming in office, we're seeing the LNG industry ignoring a lot of those standards. So that's one more story. Belinda has others to focus on, and this is It's the Planet, Stupid.
The planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet
Earth.
A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet stupid. No. It's the planet stupid.
Here she is, our guide for It's the Planet Stupid, Belinda Waymouth, eco-journalist.
Hello.
The news is not good. Can you hear? Oh, yeah, you have one stray, you have one stray head. Yeah,
it looks cool, right?
You make it look sexy, yeah.
Thank you.
Now, tell me the bad news.
Oh, man. So there's a lot this morning. And, okay, let's just start with Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, on Monday said that we've blown through our 1.5 degrees Celsius of allowable heating in the atmosphere above pre-industrial levels. That was what was agreed at Paris COP, that we needed to stay within the 1.5 degrees Celsius, and that that would keep us safe. And the world agreed to that. They said, yes, we're going to do it, but we haven't done it. And one of the things that he talked about on Monday are these things called NDC. So they are nationally determined commitments. And so it's this really, no one's being held to it, but countries were supposed to say, this is what our commitment is going to be to lowering emissions. So out of 102 nations, how many do you think have said these are what our commitments are?
Yeah,
out of 192.
I mean,
62 countries out of 197, actually. And so who are countries who are doing it? Well, China, the biggest emitter right now, they're a notorious undercommitter. The EU has not said what they're doing. And then we've got Trump, who's pulled us out of Paris, not once, but twice. So we're out of the Paris Climate Accord. And the other thing that Guterres said, which I think is really important, because COP30 is about to happen next month in Brazil. In the Amazon, they're going to have COP30. And he said, it's really important because also the thing that with only 62 countries that have said this is what we're going to do, that only represents 10% emissions, and we need to be at 60 to keep ourselves safe. And we can see right now with Hurricane Melissa, we're not safe. So he's talking about, there has to be a drastic recommitment, and that we also have to really be thinking about, we have to really include Indigenous people who've lived sustainably for millennia on the planet. They have to be included in the conversations. How do we do it? They have to have a place at the table, not the oil and gas lobbyists, who were the ones, legions of them were at the last two COPs, which were held in oil-producing Middle Eastern countries. So it's really good that it's going to be in the Amazon, and it's really good that he's saying these things. And these things really need to happen. But here's a problem that we have in the world, and we talk about this quite often. We're sort of talking out one side of our mouth that yes, we're making these commitments and we're doing things, and then out the other side of our mouth, we're doing something else. Lula da Silva is a case in point. So he has just agreed. He's the president of Brazil, and he has been, a climate champion, but he's just agreed to allow oil exploration to happen near the mouth of the Amazon River. Well, that doesn't sound smart to me. But on the other hand, Brazil has an initiative. It is called the Tropical Forests Forever Facility Initiative. It's going to be really pushed at COP30. They want to raise $125 billion. They want to give 1/5 of that, so $25 billion, to Indigenous people to help save the standing forests of the world. But what Guterres was saying the other day, with blowing through this 1.5 degree, goal that we had, we are endangering places like the Amazon. The Amazon could become a savanna. We are endangering the Arctic, which is already heating up twice as fast as the rest of the planet. The Western Antarctica, those ice sheets are about to just, carve off into the oceans. Coral reefs, we're in our 4th major global coral reef bleaching. I mean, this, I just read the other day, elk and staghorn, which are the big, tall corals in the Florida reefs, they were functionally categorized as extinct, as of this month. They can't hack how hot the water is. They just can't do it. And they've been in that coral reef for 10,000 years. They are like the sequoias. They are tall. They're big, stag and elkhorn. They're what stop these storm surges when these really hot oceans, and storms and these hot ocean surges are coming towards places like Jamaica. They're the things that slow them down, as do, the wetlands, marshes, seagrass, all those things that we have had around coasts that we need. So, here's imperiled coral. And what's really wild is, So coral scientists, they have been taking endangered coral, they've been moving it to cooler parts of the ocean in efforts to save it. They've been taking it out of the ocean and putting it in tanks and aquariums in their homes and their garages. I mean, all these efforts, they even took the elkhorn of Florida and they crossed it with a more heat-resistant elkhorn species of coral from Honduras. And that elkhorn is doing okay because it can survive in these hotter temperatures. But we're really, we're playing with fire. And this leads me to this hurricane that we're seeing now, the hurricane of a century. Do you know, Mark? I mean, you're a weather guy. Hurricane Melissa recorded the lowest barometric pressure ever recorded Since we've been recording weather, Melissa had the lowest ever recorded barometric pressure. And what these hot oceans and this hot atmosphere are doing, they're taking a category 3 hurricane, and it can double overnight. So Melissa, which was causing rain and flooding in Haiti last week, it went from a category 3 to a category 5 right before it hit Jamaica. They said the winds could be anywhere from 190 to, in some parts of the country, possibly 250 miles per hour. Jamaica has a population of 2 million people. You can't just, get 5 cruise ships to come in, or, obviously it would be more than 5 cruise ships, but, you can't evacuate all those people. And Jamaica is a low-lying island. And then there's another factor. So we already have sea level rise of 10 centimeters. 10 centimeters is 4 inches. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but just to put it in perspective, so when Superstorm Sandy hit the East Coast here, hit New York, hit the coast of New Jersey, they have 10 centimeters of sea level rise, there at that time. That amount of sea level rise increased the damage done. This is what research has shown by, here's the final figure, and it's not a small one. So that 4 inches of extra sea level meant that the damage was 8 billion times more than it would have been without that 4 inches of sea level rise, just to put it in monetary, perspective for everyone.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
You said so much, and the supercharging of these storms and hurricanes and typhoons, as they're called over in Asia, is related to the heat in the water. There's no question about it. There's a direct correlation. I mean, this is the biggest way in which heat energy is moved from one hemisphere to the other, is through these tropical weather systems. So the hotter the water, the warmer the water, the more you get the air rising, right? And that rising air is indeed the low pressure to which you referred. So when you measure, that's because the warm water is creating the super rising of that air. And of course, that just creates these bigger and bigger storms. And the lower pressure produces the higher winds. So, I mean, that's the way the chain is all linked together. But at the beginning of that chain is the way the ocean is so very warm. I'm getting in the chat at least one question for you, and it's related, as you might imagine, to what Bill Gates had said about climate change, because he is one of those guys who has put a lot of his money to work for climate issues, who has been out in front on various issues that are associated with the survival of humanity, pandemics among them, et cetera. So he's kind of recharacterizing the climate issue, and I think it's being misconstrued, what he said. But I wonder if you can comment on his basic notion that his views on climate change and the risk to humanity of climate change are evolving, and now he's going to focus on helping address other risks to vulnerable populations worldwide. Isn't that essentially what he was trying to say?
Well, he sort of is, but you know what's really interesting? Because I found his shift in the narrative slightly confusing, because the biggest existential threat that is facing poor people, and he's done all this work on malaria and how making African countries more malaria resistant, and incredible work on that. But the biggest existential threat that they face right now is climate change, because all the health issues that they have are really exacerbated by climate change. And I think it's, I found it a little bit confusing, because, here's the thing, Jamaica is bearing the brunt of this storm. And Jamaica, as Haiti and Cuba, I don't want to, in the Bahamas, I don't want to, negate what other countries, but, the storm is going to be way less, when it hits ground there. It was really bad in Jamaica. But Jamaica is responsible for 1% of global emissions, only 1. And they are one of the countries, actually, that ahead of COP30 have said, we're going to zero out our emissions by 2060. That, we have an NDC. Here it is, United Nations. This is what we're going to do. And it's really the rich nations of the world that are hammering it to The poor, yeah, what you're saying, Randy, is right. He's talking about the sort of the doomsday of it,
Yeah, here's Randy's comment. Randy says, Gates argues that a doomsday outlook distracts from the most effective ways to help people and can have negative consequences.
Yeah, and and that comes back to, what I always want to do is tell people these are all the positive things that are happening, and the renewable energy, transition revolution is happening, in spite of Trump is doing everything he can to turn back the hands of progress. But yes, I don't think a doomsday narrative is helpful, but I do think that I'll tell you a narrative that I think is really interesting that's happening right now in politics, where we're talking about it's not left and right, it's not woke versus MAGA, it's really about up versus down. It's that the rich are distracting the poor and keeping them busy with all these other issues, where we're really divided, to keep the attention of what's actually happening, which is this huge funneling of upwards, money upwards to the rich. And this ties absolutely into climate change. I was reading a thing yesterday that was saying that the 0.1% of the richest Americans emit, their carbon emissions are 4,000 times greater than the poorest 10% of the world's population. And if you look at it in general terms against everyone on the planet, they're emitting 103 times more than every other person on the planet. Our top 0.1% who are getting all these tax breaks from Trump, who are now giving him money for his ballroom and are allowed to giving these drilling licenses in public lands. Those are our lands. So I really think we have to look at climate in that way, because you've got a country like Jamaica only responsible for 1% of emissions, has given it its NDC saying we're going to lower our emissions to zero, by 2060. And then you've got all these rich countries, China is an undercommitter when it comes to the NDCs. Europe hasn't said anything. We're not, playing our part. Trump has just done this thing. So there's been years of negotiations in the maritime shipping industry. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place, but am I making some sense, Mark?
Yeah, but I'd like to double back to what you were saying because of the sort of the haves and have-nots is a key part of all of this. And you're sort of saying that the nations that are the haves are they well eclipse the have-not nations if you put them all together. And, of course, the haves are the ones who are causing all of the lion's share of the fossil fuel emissions and the global warming elements that we fight against. I also think that, of course, the poorest nations are the ones most affected. You use Jamaica as an example. There are a lot of examples across the Pacific, et cetera. And Gates's comment, just to get back to what sort of got us going on this, Gates's comments were humanity is going to survive this for a long time, which is basically what he said. But we'll have to change and modify and make allowances, and it won't be the same, but it will be survivable for a while. Okay. And I'm just telling you what he said, and then I want to go back and we can kind of dismantle it. So I'm going to put my Gates Foundation money, my Bill Gates fortune, into addressing those things that I think I can more directly have an effect on short term, and those are the citizens of the world who live below the poverty line, who need relief of all sorts. It may be food, it may be subsidies of one sort or another when it comes to everything from infrastructure to inoculations. This is sort of where he has put a lot of effort already, but he's saying he's going to pivot toward more of that and less of the climate stuff. I think he's wrong, just to state it. Again, he states it so diplomatically that you could argue, well, he's not actually saying that this isn't a clear and present danger to humanity. He's just saying it may be survivable for a while. I'd say that, you're hastening the end of all creatures. Witness the fact that just this year, just right now, a bunch of creatures are going extinct from changes to the climate. The ocean is being radically changed. You detailed a couple of ways, and those are just a couple. We've seen many species of fish and mammal being destroyed by those changes to climate, and also pollutants being dumped into those oceans, into the soil, into the air. So to me, environment is a front and center issue. And of course, all of those citizens of the world that are going to be affected are going to continue to be affected, but they'll be more dramatically affected because we're kind of turning a blind eye to climate. And then the last thing I'll say is because, and this is the reason we're turning a blind eye, because the most powerful nation on earth, the United States, has now taken a posture that's very aggressive toward fossil fuel exploitation and has taken a very aggressive posture toward ignoring any kind of environmental damage. In fact, it's viewed as a woke, liberal effort that needs to be extinguished. We need more exploitation of fossil fuels. And so that's where we sit. And the last thing I'll say is, I was just reading a big piece about China and the fact that they are fast-tracking nuclear power. Now, it suggested that they're not so concerned with green energy. You just said that they're the world's greatest polluter. But I see how they are pursuing sustainable green energy alongside dirty energy like coal production and nuclear power. Now, they're an immense country with an immense population, so it's no surprise that they're doing all of these things at once. But they are fast-tracking nukes in a big, big way. Nuclear reactors are getting built quickly in China. It's both alarming and impressive. Now, I've said a lot, but please, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I found what he said, kind of incomprehensible and, like why. And I also felt like it was really not helpful. He's a big proponent of small nuclear and making, small nuclear power plants available for, the communities that he's helping in Africa, all over the world. Like, here's a machine that gives you clean drinking water. He's got those machines where you put sewage in one end and there are photographs of Bill Gates at the other drinking the water coming out of it, So I don't, it just sort of seemed weird, I have to say, the thing that he said the other day. And you are absolutely right, Mark, that the climate is the number one existential threat. I read this ghastly thing yesterday talking about how every minute a person is dying from heat in the world. And there was a story, I can't remember how long ago it was, of the mother who was living with her two kids in the car. She was 33 years old. This was in America. I can't remember which state. The kids woke up in the morning. Their mother was unresponsive. She died of heat stroke in the car. I mean, this is happening. And so this is and if you're poor, you have a lot less ways to escape heat than you do if you're rich. And, I'm sorry, but I agree with, I think it was Randy and a few other people in the comment section. Bill Gates lives in a rarefied world. He lives in Richistan. And I know that he is on the ground in these countries and seeing what people are facing. But climate change is going to make all these, mosquito, when mosquitoes are the vector for diseases, that only gets worse because hotter temperatures mean that mosquitoes can live in more places than they lived in before. And so that's malaria, that's more, dengue, all these things. So I'm with you. I really think that climate is the big one right now. And when I gave the, you guys, our audience today, the numbers on the emissions of the rich, because I think it's really important to know the sort of numbers that are happening. It's like the money is going upwards. They're making more, they're creating more of the emissions. They're getting all these tax breaks, and getting richer and richer. And it really is at the expense of the wages of the poor, but also of the health of the poorer people. 8 million people die every year from air pollution. And, they're now making, these, air pollutant sensor machines, available to people in countries all over the world. And in India, in Delhi, people are like, yeah, I need one of those because I want to know what days is it not safe for me to go outside. Well, then you've got governmental regulators trying to stop people having these sensors in their homes or, on their balconies or whatever, because they don't want them to know. But when people know, then they have the power to push their governments to say, no, you have to do something about the air pollution, in our city. This isn't healthy. This isn't, good for us. And so, I think that what Guterres said the other day, our UN Secretary General, is that we have to bring, everyone has to come to the table, but not the oil and gas lobbyists, not the rich people. It has to be the indigenous people and the frontliners. And we really, because one of the other things is that in 2022, rich nations made a commitment to poorer nations in the world. We will set up a fund that you can use to help you get climate change resilient. And of course, the rich nations aren't putting money into that. Well, get some of that, offshore, money that's been, put in Cayman Islands and other offshore bank accounts, so it doesn't have to pay taxes in its country of origin. Get some of that money and, use it to help these poorer nations.
Yeah, some of that Panama Papers money. Yeah, put it to work.
It's outrageous.
And I do think it. I mean, you'd love to see it. I mean, and by the way, just as an aside, because you mentioned it, and I love that you mentioned it earlier initially. I like that they're meeting in the Amazon or they're meeting alongside. I mean, this is different than it was almost cartoonish the way the last one went down. They have all these private jets showing up to an oil-producing nation that is responsible in one way or another for all of this fossil fuel production and all of this destruction of the planet. And you have all these oil lobbyists there as well. I mean, it was crazy. It's like, where's the righteousness in any of this? So at least this has the look of something that it seems far more on brand. And it's interesting what Randy says here. Let's be careful. We shouldn't bash Gates as just a rich, disconnected guy at this point. I agree, but I do think that there are a lot of super rich people right now who are doing some pretty nasty stuff. And honestly, they don't want to run afoul of the new administration. They need things in America. That's why I mentioned the most powerful nation on earth, the U.S., has an extremely aggressive view toward both fossil fuel exploitation and a negative view, equally aggressive, toward any kind of environmental legislation or environmental, what they call wokeness, environmentalism, sustainability. So I think part of Gates's comments are designed to be tiptoeing politically around the new administration in America. I mean, in their first year in America. I really hate to say it, but otherwise I can't understand why he would even make the comment.
Well, yeah, and it's like all those billionaires who are kowtowing to the Trump administration because they want to make sure that they don't lose any of their pile of money. I mean, and the first time he was the president, they didn't do that. They actually said, this is not okay. This goes against the grain of what America stands for and who we are as a nation. And now they're all getting in line, and that's what you do under an authoritarian leader, and so it's really, it shows, lack of backbone and it's so unfortunate because this is a, I mean, it always feels like it's a pivotal moment with the climate, but this really is, we've got, we're going over the 1.5 degrees Celsius. It's called a tipping point for a reason. And we are already seeing horrible environmental things happen because of it, deaths from heat. Our oceans are not surviving. We've got these extinctions happening. We've got these incredible superstorms happening. And if Hurricane Melissa was hitting the eastern seaboard right now and it wasn't, down in the Caribbean, I think it would be a different story. There would be a lot more outrage about it. And
there would be and there wouldn't be. I mean, I think there'd be a lot about the damage, but look at what Florida did after Andrew. It didn't make any kind of, Florida is a state, I think, that really embodies sort of the American posture toward this whole thing, which is just build bigger seawalls, do what you can. I mean, just, this is, everything's sort of viewed as a one-off. We're very much, and you're the one who made this point, I think, quite some time ago, that we're not good at seeing the train coming down the tracks miles down. We're really only reacting to the train when we can see it within like 100 feet of us. And that leaves us in a really tough spot. Spamlet says something good, I think. Sounds like Gates is being resigned to the fact, when I say good, I mean that I think it's a good take, is being resigned to the fact that the rich are no longer going to allow the world to be saved from climate. So he is just going to make the poor people more comfortable until the end comes. I know that's grim, but I really do think that is what he's saying. He's saying, against this political headwind, in America and the rest of the world having not been able to adhere to the Paris Climate Accord agreed upon cutback in fossil fuels, against these headwinds, I have to face the fact that my cause to roll back this fossil fuel production is doomed. And on some level, I have to look at what relief I can provide vulnerable populations now. I mean, it's the grim reality that maybe Bill Gates is reflecting.
Yeah, the subtext, like, this is the best that I can do right now,
right,
with my money and my resources. Maybe. I mean, it would be really interesting, to know, if that is how he's thinking. And I mean, it's sort of, I mean, man, we don't want him giving up, but I just think that, obviously the Trump administration is going to last for as long as it does, but I do think there is going to come a point where the American people are going to go, okay, we can't keep going in this direction. And an interesting thing, because obviously the whole of his administration is on the same page. So, Hegseth, head of the Pentagon, calls it climate change crap. And the Pentagon has for years known that climate change is a national security risk. And they have been, how can we make ourselves more resilient? How can we make ourselves ready? How can we help our, women and men in uniform? And Hegseth has done away with all of that. Well, that is not smart, because you put those, our soldiers in harm's way because they're going into places where they can't cope with the heat, where their machinery doesn't work because of the heat. That's not okay. But I mean, this is sort of happening on every level, and hopefully eventually there are enough sectors that are affected that the people do rise up and say, okay, enough is enough. Because
maybe. I mean, I think that people will never rise up on this. So I'm not. I mean, I love your optimism on that, but I think by the time they rise, if they rise up, it'll be when Rome is already way, way, way burning. CC Ryder says, is it possible that Gates made this comment, which sounds like, quote, environmental gaslighting, to appease MAGA pressure, but is still aligned with a pro-climate change agenda? Yeah, of course. That's exactly what I'm saying, that he was tiptoeing around everything and trying to serve up something political so that he wouldn't seem... He doesn't have to have a lot of interaction with the Trump administration to know that they shouldn't run afoul of it. And so somebody like Gates, who has interests, and even, let's just say, philanthropic interests, he doesn't need the IRS hassling him. He doesn't need this new kind of bullying from the administration, governmental bullying. He doesn't need it. So why not at least go on the record with this? And it has the additional virtue of probably being true. All of these countries that pledge so much, none of them hit their environmental goals. None of them. And so we're in this situation that Gates felt he would be best served, I think, politically to address in the way he did. I'm way out of time. Love that you spent time with us. If you missed any of this video, we drop it on the weekend. We drop Belinda's on the weekend so that more people can be exposed to it. And we love our time with you, Belinda. Thank you for being
totally
here.
My pleasure. And,
Belinda Waymouth, everyone.
Yep.
That's It's the Planet Stupid.
More. It's the Planet Stupid. No, it's the Planet Stupid.
Next time, only on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I am way out of time. Quickly, a note to Richard Delamater. Remember to ask Belinda about her Telecaster. What happened with that? Hold on a second. Belinda, what is the Telecaster behind you, or there's a Telecaster there? There's a Telecaster that Richard Delamater wants to know the story behind. You have a Telecaster, the guitar behind you.
Oh, yeah. It is. It's my daughter's.
All right. It's the daughter.
She's the cool one. Yeah. It's my daughter. And
there you go.
It's a really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a very cool thing. Richard, that is the story on that. Why is Mark being so nice today? Did you give Mark his time out yesterday, Kim? Happy hump day. Love your show, Kim. I mean, Mark. LOL. I am offended by my dear friend, the chaplain, Fred.
Big shout out. Good one, Chaplain Fred. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I'm being nicer than I normally am. I'm incredibly nice. People, if you knew what I'm up against, you would understand. AI Mark is taking over the show. Skynet is coming. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it. It wouldn't surprise me. Trump, be like, say hello to my ICE little friend. Yeah, exactly. With a new ICE in town, it's going to be even rougher. There are going to be more incidents. And I told you about that one guy who's, he's like a rough and tumble dude, and he's going to be running a lot of what's happening. They want lots and lots of arrests, and they want aggressive policies. It's pretty brutal and offensive. But the East Wing Ballroom will end up like the graffiti towers in L.A., says Trevor Starr in Hollywood. That's that huge building that they ran out of funding for, and it's all graffitied out. Yeah. It sure does seem like they were quick to demolish, but now winter is coming, and the White House is going to be a mess. I mean, it is a perfect physical manifestation of what's happening with the U.S. government under Trump, in my judgment. Luis says, outrage that Mo Kelly has been canceled. The Mo Kelly Show. KFI is quickly becoming right-wing wacko radio. Quote, Newsom evil, Dems mentally ill, Donald Trump is awesome radio. Just go sports betting for degenerates and they'll have way more integrity, says Luis.
KFI isn't right-wing, is it? I thought it, no?
You'd have to listen, because it's complicated as usual. Right wing on certain issues.
Sure.
I don't know what to say. I mean,
well,
they're not. I think most of them hate Newsom. Does that make them right wing? I don't know. Many liberals hate Newsom.
Perhaps. KGO used to have a variety of shows where it would be like we'd start with news in the morning, and then we'd go kind of middle of the road in the middle of the day. And as the day wore on, we'd get progressively more liberal. And by the time that night fell, it was like, whoo, boy.
Yeah. I didn't know that was the pattern. Wow.
Yeah, that was our pattern.
Tom Graves says, just remember that the first remodeling construction Trump did in the White House was a back door for Russia. Yeah, when you talk about a back door for Russia, you'll remember in the first Trump administration with Jared Kushner and many of the others associated with the, I'll call it transition team. Well, there was no transition going on in the first one. You should read the book by Michael Lewis about that. But anyway, they wanted a communication with Russia, and they wanted to use the Russian phone lines because they knew that any phone lines that were in and out of the White House would be monitored by American intelligence agencies. So this is a wild thing. What are you talking about? So you as an official of the White House are going to go to the Russian embassy and use the Russian phone? I mean, look it up. It happened. I mean, it really is a sign of what are you guys discussing that American intelligence can't know about? But CC Ryder says Hunter Biden's board role on Burisma was a snore fest. The GOP investigated it, and they investigated Hunter for 5 years. No corruption charges for board role. MAGA's Biden informant was a Russian stooge and charged with lying. That is all true. And again, Hunter Biden's situation with a father who is president or vice president it's like a kid's birthday party compared to the corruption that's going on right now, with the Trump administration now actively pursuing various business dealings from the Middle East to Asia while there are negotiations going along. Eric Trump, or is it Don Jr.? Don Jr., I guess, and Eric both, they accompany their father on many of these trips so they can make these deals on the side. You saw it. Please stop calling Trump's actions a grift. Let's use other more accurate words: theft, self-dealing, extortion, pillage, rapacity, plunder.
Isn't that what a grift is?
Yeah, it's a small point, but I take his point. Chris is saying he's outraged by it and he hates to have it reduced to grift, but it is right. It's a grift. Who is this? And Angela Silva, my new favorite person at the end of the show, with a $20 super chat.
Big shout out.
I love the show. It's where I get my news. I've been listening since KGO. I'm really enjoying the guest. The yesterday guest of the doctor and today the veterinarian. Good work, guys. Thank you, Angela Silva.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the $20 note and super chat. And also just for supporting the show. We really do need it. How come they only give Trump gold? No mirth or frankincense, says Jim Slayton. Yeah, he gets gold everywhere. The Japanese prime minister gave him a gold ball, a gold golf club, I think. Yeah. John Watson says the S will really hit the fan if the air traffic controllers are still not paid by the holidays. Well, right now it's looking pretty grim. Mark is always right except when Kim is right, says Nullifidian. Yeah,
that's how that works. I like it.
Yeah. Mark is always right except when he's wrong, says Trevor Starr in Hollywood. Yeah, that's probably
Actually,
true.
I have to, my bad, I'm sorry it, because I was wrong today about the Folgers commercial. I thought it was about decaf, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
All right. Well, that's very, very nice.
Just letting you know that
you,
I do realize that I
My
was
words
incorrect.
upset so many people.
They want to make a big deal out of it, but I knew what it
were
was,
correct.
and yet she was just, no, it's about decaf. Okay, well, if you say
Right.
so. But
I mean, I don't think you need to really make a big deal of it, but I'm just saying.
I think, and I'm glad that you brought it back up, and I'm glad Tony found it, because she never would have believed me that it was not about decaf.
This is the way it is.
I'm going to drink my Coachella.
So much better than Folgers crystals.
I'm loving the fact that tomorrow David Katz joins and Sarah Kendzior joins tomorrow as well. I mean, it's going to be strong, man. You ought to be here tomorrow.
Has it ever occurred to you that instead of
recommend
running around, given the nature of all this news, this could be a lot more
we're on YouTube.
Complex.
Tony will drop the videos.
It might not be just such a simple.
Yes, Tony will drop the videos and you can check them out anytime. Thank you for sharing the show, subscribing, hitting the thumbs up. Kim's doing the after party over in the After Party Live channel, and I will see you tomorrow. And until then,
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
We are out of time.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.